Hello, everyone, and welcome to season 3 of Build and Grow Money Matters, a series dedicated to helping businesses go beyond financial management to achieve financial growth, resilience, and innovation. As businesses continue to revive and pivot to newer models in these tough times, your story is proud to partner with HSBC for another season of inspiring conversations, insights, and observations. We feature some of the newest trendsetters in business and stalwarts of the ecosystem to help businesses power their next phase of growth and business continuity. Today, we have with us Shyatto Raha, founder and CEO of MyHealthcare, a digital healthcare ecosystem. It uses technology to enhance the healthcare delivery network across both private and public healthcare sectors. He is an alumnus of the Harvard Business School and a member of the Harvard Angels Network, India. Shaito's experience in business strategy spans the Indian subcontinent, Southeast Asia, and the Middle East. He has been a broadcast professional for over 20 years, working with organizations such as the NDTV Group and Astro Networks. He has also co founded IndianRoots.com, an online retail platform offering the best of Indian fashion. Welcome, Shaito. So, Shaito, let's get started with maybe sharing with us a bit of your backstory, your growth story. We believe today you have over 57 partner hospitals and maybe more than 20 million patients being served over the platform. So, how did you get to be the product of choice for so many organizations? Shaito, what's the story?
The fact that I was starting with my career with NDTV, having done a lot of media work there, and as you know, content was the first to use digital platforms, and thereon to go and do consumerism gave me the hands-on experience to actually see how things work in the consumer side of it. When we came into healthcare in 2017, I think what we saw was that there was minimal or next to negligible use of digital technology in the delivery of care. And when we looked at the entire aspect of how things go on inside hospitals, I think it gave us even more confidence that there could be the power of an ecosystem. When you bring that to a hospital, it could change the dynamics of how care is given. So that was the genesis of how we came into MyHealthcare. We started a journey in 2018 where we started from the patient side. And again, from our perspective, when we got into this, Madan, I think the advantage was, again, because we had never done healthcare before, there were no legacy thinking in our minds. So what we brought was a fresh thinking of how do we take a consumer or a patient as quickly as possible from the time they need care to in front of a doctor. So I think that was our first problem that we were trying to solve. So the patient journey is where we started in 2018. Fast forward to 2021, I think what we've been able to do is start not only from the patient journey, but once they are connected to the doctor, how the doctor is actually consulting with the patient, what we call the electronic medical record system, and the ecosystem that we have built around it. So today, what MyHealthcare brings to its patients and its hospitals and its doctors is a complete comprehensive ecosystem of care, which means that right from a patient, when they come in and they look for a doctor consult, they get to do a virtual consult or a physical consult with a doctor. The doctor uses our electronic medical record system, which immediately generates a prescription. As soon as the prescription is generated, you're able to immediately, our diagnostic partners and our pharmacy partners come into play, where we are able to actually serve the lab requirements or the diagnostic requirements of a patient or deliver medicine. Going one step further, we have now also brought home care and home isolation programs into it. So where if a patient is at home, they can be monitored at home. And I'm sure we're going to talk a little bit more about it in detail later. And at the end of the day, the power of MyHealthcare is to try and bring the hospital as close as possible to a patient. So that's the core of the digital journey that we are doing. And we are very, very proud that today, not only have we started our journey in 2018 with 12 hospitals, we are over 60 hospitals today and close to about 50 clinics, which are on our platform, all focused on specialty care. And I think it's a journey that I'm looking forward to. There's been no looking back, at least that's all I can say.
Thanks, Shaito. That's a great insight. Look not just at technology or just at hospitals, but at the broader ecosystem and how to integrate them all together. So, can you tell us how your organization differentiates from some of the other competitors in the same space? Shaito?
Well, a lot of people have been in this space is more on the patient side and the demand generation side. Where we differentiate ourselves is because we manage the entire journey of the patient, we are able to actually give a very high retention rate to our customers, which is our hospitals and our clinics. So what happens is right from the entire patient journey, like I said earlier, from the diagnosis to cure is managed on our platform. Second thing is that we build the entire what we call the patient longitudinal history. Today, the challenge that a patient has is that when you're going from one doctor to another doctor to another doctor, you have to always remember to carry all your folders with you, either on your phone or your this little billfold of papers and prescriptions and reports. What MyHealthcare does is it brings everything into one common place for the doctor to see and for the patient to keep. So therefore, the advantage is that over a period of time, whether you've gone to let's take a simple thing, right? Vitals being recorded. Whether I'm recording the vitals on the patient platform, which is the patient app, whether it's being recorded inside the hospital, whether it's being recorded in front of a doctor's chamber, or during home care monitoring, at all times, that entire longitudinal history of the patient. So when I click on Shyatto as a patient, I can see the entire vital trend journey of Shyatto right from the time that he entered the ecosystem till today. And this becomes very rich for a doctor to make a very quick, accurate diagnosis and be able to also look at different specialties. So when a patient goes from one specialty to the other, this history follows this patient. Therefore, when a doctor is looking at a patient, they're able to see what this patient is all about, what has been the past, what has been the journey, and again, make a meaningful clinical decision on the patient. So this is the value system that we bring to the to our both our patients and our hospitals and doctors. And I think this is what has been game changing as far as the Indian healthcare sector is concerned and what we are bringing to it today.
Thanks, Shyatto. That's quite an ecosystem you've built up. I'm sure the audience would also like to know, how does investment fit into all of this? How does fundraising fit in? So we believe that you raised $3 million, I think, from 6 Sense Ventures, which was the first healthcare technology investment by them. So can you share with the audience a bit more about your fundraising approach, your strategy, and how it's working out for you now, Shyatto?
So thanks, Madan. So I think on that, we've also been, I don't know whether it's right or wrong, but we've been a little picky about how we go out and how we raise capital. For us, it's been more important first to build the business right. So we got our foundations in place, and then we went out into the market for our Series A, where 6 Sense and IDS Med came into our portfolio. For us, the advantage that we saw with an organization like 6 Sense is it's not just capital. Madan. What we are always looking for, and as we go into our Series B as well, what we're looking for always is what we call smart capital, something that comes more with just money on the table, right? So with 6 Sense, they have this in-depth experience in consumerism. They have built portfolios. They have Nikhil and Swati and others have spent years in building consumerism businesses. So that's the kind of learning that they have brought into the business, and that makes not just a cap table more rich, just with capital, but the learnings that they bring to the table, which helps us as a business connect better with their portfolios, connect better with how we should be modeling our business going forward as well. So that's the sort of, like I said, smart capital, Madan, is going to be a very important factor for us as we go forward. And I think that is what's going to help us grow as a business as well. And I think with the likes of 6 Sense, with Hunch Ventures and with IDS Med, we've been very fortunate to get smart capital from them.
Thanks, Shyatto. That's a very great tip for the aspiring entrepreneurs in your audience. Don't just look for money on the table, but look for smart capital. Now, Shyatto, the other big question on everyone's mind today, obviously, is the pandemic. We're going through a horrible second phase right now, but we also know that during this pandemic, you've had an upswing in adoption of online consultations, about 1 lakh consultations. You continue to account for maybe 20, 30% of all OPDs. Can you share with us a bit more about how technology is helping you modify your strategy, pivot to new options, and so on? Shyatto?
So, Madan, I think telemedicine, if I go back to pre-COVID when I go 2018, 2019, right up to the March of 2020, this was a concept where people, whether it is doctors, whether it is hospitals, whether it was patients, they never saw it as not even a primary or a secondary channel of care. And that, I think, was probably the biggest turning point, and if I may call it the demonetization moment for healthcare industry, was the COVID-19 when it came in March. With the lockdowns and everything that fell in place, there was no other option for the doctors or for hospitals or for patients to go anywhere else but to switch to telemedicine. And that is where when we pivoted as MyHealthcare to telemedicine, that was let's say, our turning point in our business. We started at that point of time, when I say, if I take the peak of last year, we were doing about 700 to 800 consults a day. In April this year, we've already crossed to almost 2,500 consults a day and growing, right? So it just gives you a sense of how things have matured. The second most important piece is that COVID-19 has changed the entire delivery of care process using digital technology, which is what would have taken us 5 years to try and get doctors and hospitals and patients comfortable with. I think that escalated overnight. So today, when we see, if I again take, let's say we have close to about 15 to 16,000 doctors on our platform today, when I look at those doctors, when this round of COVID came in, the second wave came in, we've not more than had to train or go through a training process or refresher course with even a single doctor. Every doctor took the platform like fish to water and went with it. So I think that's also what actually played a very big role. In terms of building the ecosystem of care on top of it, made it even more rich for our patients. Like I said earlier, that the fact that we are today able to do lab tests at home, we're able to do pharmacy delivery at home, all those, and now home care also with home isolation monitoring. And we'll talk again about that. But I think all of that has made MyHealthcare a very rich platform. The second thing that we were able to do because of the COVID pandemic was we were able to launch, along with our B2B strategy, we were able to launch our D2C platform as well. So today, I think the advantage that we have seen with MyHealthcare is that the entire ecosystem we've been talking about, that has actually been delivered because of our D2C strategy that we've been able to successfully take to the market.
Thanks, Shyatto. I think we can clearly see that the COVID pandemic has accelerated digital adoption across all sectors, healthcare, education, commerce, and so on. It also has accelerated the kinds of partnerships that we're seeing in the industry. For example, you've got a very interesting partnership with Alivecore, which allows patients to be able to read their ECG data directly from their Cardia Mobile 6L device straight into the MyHealthcare platform. So can you tell us how this works and how it's giving patients more satisfaction to monitor their healthcare in the comfort of their own homes? Shaito?
70% of India today does not have access to primary care. And if I look at specialty care today, specialty care is pretty much restricted to the top 5-6 cities of India, which means almost 75 to 80% of India does not have access to primary care today. So what we are trying to build with MyHealthcare is trying to build what we call the remote patient care monitoring ecosystem. So what this requires is devices that work inside the MyHealthcare ecosystem. A patient can use this device at home or wherever they may be, and the data comes automatically or flows through automatically into the MyHealthcare ecosystem and in real time to the front of the doctor. So with Cardia 6L, we were very fortunate. They were our first partner that we went ahead with. It's an FDA approved product. It's 6 leads, which allows in 30 seconds for a patient to take a ECG reading, a clinical grade ECG reading, which is then delivered to the doctor as a proper report, and it has AI interpretation built in. So what it does, it also does an interpretation of whether the ECG is normal, whether it is tachycardic, bradycardic, arrhythmia. All of that is done also inside it. However, AI, like I think it's in the very early days of AI. So it goes in with a little bit of a caution to say, this is an interpretation done by AI. However, the clinical assessment will ultimately have to be done by the doctor. So I think Cardia Mobile today, in partnership with MyHealthcare, we're able to do ECGs today without having to connect, 17 leads, without having to go to a hospital or a clinic. Sitting at home right now, I can do a 30-second ECG and send it to a doctor, and it actually will change. Along with Cardia, we're doing other devices as well, which are coming into the ecosystem. We've already partnered with Omron, where the blood pressure monitor today can be read directly into the MyHealthcare ecosystem. So I think this is where we're going to see a lot more device integrations that we're doing, where patients can be monitored remotely, whereas the doctor is sitting probably in Delhi or in Bombay or wherever they may be, monitoring a patient in a tier 2 city of India.
Thanks, Shaito. It's great to hear how much momentum you seem to have on your side. Looking towards the future, can you share with us what you see as the growth opportunities that come with healthcare, omni-channel healthcare, which combine both B2B and D2C? Shaito?
So, healthcare delivery it is an expensive solution. It is not something that there is a straightforward cookie cutter template that has been sort of created and one can follow. The second thing is India is relatively nascent when it comes to delivery of healthcare, and specifically digital healthcare. So what we looked at was that if you go on a purely online strategy, it becomes very difficult, because that is again a patient which is only one part of a patient journey that you're handling. The second thing is you can't go purely B2C. You need to have the B2B piece as well, right? So which is where we have working with partner hospitals, partner laboratories, partner e-pharmacy partners. We're not trying to do that ourselves. So when you combine the B2B with the D2C strategy, I think you're able to make unit economics which make business sense. The biggest evil, if one was to call it, and again, Madan, you alluded to my e-commerce experience that I had, is there is something called a consumer acquisition cost, right? And that if that consumer acquisition cost is unachievable in terms of you cannot break even in that on that CAC in, let's say, a year and a half or 2 years, with every passing month, you're going to bleed more to acquire a customer and not be able to break even. So what we've been, what the omni-channel strategy does for us is we are able to break even on our CAC that we are spending on in less than a year or maximum a year and a half on a patient. So I think that's very critical for us to bring a stable, long-term, sustainable business to the market.
Thanks, Shaito, for reminding our audience to focus on key metrics and not just technology or just the business model. Can you share with us some of the new solutions you're working on? For example, we believe the MyHealthcare Home Initiative allows COVID patients in their homes to look at how to use digital thermometers and AI-based optical character recognition solutions. Can you share with us some of these technologies and how they fit into your solution space, Shaito?
So, again, coming back to a little bit of statistics, and I think Dr. Devi Shetty alluded to that a couple of weeks ago in a video interview that he did. The biggest issue that we are going to face, not just with the pandemic, but if you look at India's healthcare system, we just do not have enough doctors and nurses to be able to fulfill the demand that is required. And demand just not for, again, I don't mean only for specialty care, even for primary care. With the COVID pandemic, what we saw was that obviously with this demand getting choked further and further, the ability for home care to be done where a patient or a nurse, where a nurse can go all the way to a patient's home to do, vitals checking and all of that, that is going to become very, very difficult. So that's when we designed and developed and took to market what is MyHealthcare at Home, which is where a patient can use our mobile app to monitor their vitals, which has then come straight into our command center, which is monitored by hospitals or our care providers. And that single monitoring system has got AI built into it. So if, let's say, Madan is my doctor and I am doing my daily monitoring at home, the moment my vitals go outside the parameters that are defined, it will automatically, the AI will send out an alert to Madan to Dr. Madan to inform you that, this patient is his vitals are going higher and higher and outside or going outside the range. It also has sort of trackers built into it. So again, you're able to see the trends of this particular patient. If this trend is going again outside the parameter, the system generates an alert to the nearest care provider to say, look, please take attention. And the patient and the nurse can then immediately jump onto a video call with the patient to see what's going wrong and how they can quickly assess the patient and decide, do I need to send an ambulance to this patient? Do I need to find a way to bring this patient into the hospital quickly? So this now creates a more scalable home care model that we've been able to bring, where you're not dependent on human capital going to your homes, but a central command center which can monitor up to 200, 500, 600 home care patients at a given time.
Wow, those are some very impressive numbers over there, Shaito. And you mentioned AI quite a few times in this discussion. And it's believed that the AI industry could be worth $150 billion by 2026. So can you share with us how you see AI transforming the healthcare segment, and more specifically from your company in the next couple of years? Where will you be and how will AI help you in your journey ahead? Shaito?
So AI is already part of MyHealthcare today. If you look at our EMR, we already have our AI system, our AI platform, which does voice recognition. So we have a clinical grade voice recognition AI in our EMR today, where doctors can dictate whether it is diagnosis, whether it is what the symptoms are, and all of that gets recorded in real time with clinical accuracy into our EMR. So that is a journey that we've already started. Needless to say, our investments will continue to go further and further to improve the accuracy of this. Our hope, Madan, is that doctors are not going to be people who are going to be able to walk around with tablets and are going to be walking around with screens in their hands. We want to take AI and touch as the key metrics of how doctors will do clinical decisions going forward. We would like AI with voice specifically on one angle, where doctor can be roaming around when he's doing his IPD journey, looking at patients. What he can do is just give it sort of a dictation which identifies which patient it is, again dictate the clinical orders that he would like processed, and the system will automatically go ahead and process it. So that's the AI piece that we are doing on the voice side of it. On the optical character recognition side, like I said, remote patient monitoring is a very, very big area for us. So what we are working on, and our AI team is working on, is to try and see how can we expand the number of devices that we can bring, right from whether it is ICU monitoring, whether it is home monitoring, just by looking at the screen, identify what is the brand that this particular device is from, and what is this device, and be able to read that data and bring that into our ecosystem. So that is what is the optical character recognition. The third most important piece that we're investing in is AI in what we call the CDSS, which is the clinical decision support system. Again, that is one piece of it has already started that journey today. And we have one of the finest clinicians, working with us, including our clinician, Dr. Rajesh Gupta, who heads our entire clinical transformation. He brings 30 years of experience, having worked with organizations such as Max Health Hospitals, Artemis, and leading Medanta, the clinical transformation for the last 6 years. What they're doing is phenomenal. They're just looking at all the various diagnoses that is going on and trying to automate the process by which the moment they see a diagnosis, let's say if I've got dengue fever, it will automatically throw up to the doctor, look, with this dengue fever, here are the various treatment protocols that have been already tried and tested. Would you like to use any one of them? So again, it tries to make the decision-making process a lot easier, which is what we call the clinical decision support system. And this is going to be completely AI driven in the years and the months to come, where including inpatient, operation theater, wherever you may go as a doctor, the CDSS will be completely AI driven. So these are the three AI road journeys that we are following at MyHealthcare.
So, Shyatto, you shared lots of very good insights on technology trends, your business model, the importance of ecosystem integration, and so on. So, if you were to put this all together, what are some tips you would give to the aspiring entrepreneurs in your audience? Some success tips, some advice, some gyan on how to succeed in these very difficult times, Shyatto?
So, Madan, I'm sorry, I'm a bit old school on this when I come to what I'm about to say. But I am a person who believes, because maybe of the learnings you have in life, it teaches you a few things as well, that it is important to first question what is the business that you're building, right? That is the most important thing. I think healthcare industry has seen a little too many failures and successes, which is what is important for any entrepreneur looking at the healthcare industries to please first decide what is the problem that you're trying to solve. Creating demand generation, which means I will just get you an appointment and take a commission on it, is not healthcare delivery. So that no means there are too many people doing it. I don't see that as a health tech business. There is a lot of problems to be solved in the healthcare industry. If I look at it today, India, and we are fortunate, India is on the cutting edge of digital technology, whether it comes to fintech, services, logistics, transportation, and retail. When it comes to healthcare, we are in the late 90s or the early 2000s as far as digital evolution is concerned. So the opportunity to grow and the opportunity to find solutions, and no single person can do it, is phenomenal. There is no glass ceiling. I can't see a glass ceiling in the next 30 years as far as the digital health. So solutions are needed. My appeal to anybody getting into, any entrepreneur getting into it, think of what is the problem that you're trying to solve. Build the foundation and make sure you succeed, because if you fail, it impacts all of us. It's not just your failure, because the confidence that you give to the healthcare industry will make it more promising for the healthcare industry to come back to startups and say, you know what, this is the ecosystem that we need to rely on.
Thanks so much, Shyatto. We come now to the last part of our discussion today. And the last question for you is, this is a program, a discussion on money. What is your professional, maybe personal, even philosophical relationship with money? What does money mean to you? What can it do for you? And what can you do with money? Shyatto.
So again, Madan, going to be a little old school. Sorry about this again. What I feel always about capital and money, essentially, is whether it is loan or whether it is capital or whether it is whichever way you want to structure it, is you got to know what is it that you're investing in. So again, going back to my earlier point, I think creating a strong foundation is very important. Today, when I look at it, if you have a strong foundation, you've got the model in place, you've got things running, then when you want to put capital to get that exponential growth, I think you will see success. But if you've got an idea and a concept which you're not very comfortable with, and you're going to keep putting more and more money in to get that idea solidified, I think that is something which could be a sort of a very high risk opportunity. So one has to sort of see which one that you want to play. But I'm a believer that if you have a strong foundation and you've got a strong model in place, with exponential capital, you can just be an absolute winner in the space. There is no question about it. So I think that is one part. Second is you've got to be realistic in terms of valuations. My advisor and my mentor told me this long time ago. Remember the valuation that you chase. If you make it very difficult for an investor, because that valuation is something that they will always come after you with, because they have to get the return on it. So be very careful. Let this not be a number that you want to chase just because somebody else is chasing a number. Be honest with yourself as to what that number should be, and then go for it.
Thanks, Shyatto. I think these are not just old school views. These are eternal views, eternal values that you brought to the table. I think just some of the three takeaways I have from this discussion are the three I's: immersion, innovation, integration. Immerse yourself in the business that you want to get into. Be very clear about what you want to bring to the table. Innovate. There's technology all around us, but innovate in your particular sector. And finally, integration. Integrate all this in a way that gives value to the customers, your partners, the doctors, and yourself. Thank you so much, Shyatto. It's been a very good discussion. We wish you all the best in your long journey ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madan. Thank you for having me here and giving this opportunity. Thank you so much.